Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad that you're with us to stay curious today. Today's program, we've got a mix-up of space history where we've got some astronauts that returning to Earth after spending an entire year in space. And then we're going to celebrate 35 years ago tomorrow, the return to space of our space shuttle fleet with the important and daring flight of STS-26 in 1988, launched on September 29th. So we're so glad that you're here with us, supporting our nonprofit, the American Space Museum. For over 22 years, we've been in downtown Titusville, preserving the birth of the American space age in our museum. We've got artifacts that you'll never see anywhere else, I guarantee you that. And if you do see them, they're probably in some astronaut's own personal collection, because we've got some really neat things here, and we brag about it, and we have guests on all the time that should share with you how beautiful our museum is. And from time to time, we take you behind the scenes, and we'll do some more of that. We being my co-producer, Marty Winkle. Marty, how you doing today? This is episode 899 in the 4 years we've been doing this, Marty.
Well, that's a lot. It doesn't seem like that many.
Yeah, he's saying that's a lot, putting up with me for sure, but it doesn't really. But they add up. We've been doing it 5 days a week since the pandemic in March of 2020. And soon we'll be our 900th episode tomorrow. We'll have a special friend on it. This friend right here, Gary Studi. Gary was on an episode about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when we did it old school. This is about 2 years ago. We have signs and all kinds of props. And then we met a friend, Jessica Galloway, who we call our Trekkie Techie, and she took us to the next level. And we're still going to another level, we hope, here soon, as I'm imitating my hand there. Gary, you're going to love Gary. He is the world's recognized expert of growing plants in space. He's had things growing in space for almost 20 years. There's Gary on the right. He's going to talk all about that. And Nick Thomas was on our Monday show, The Astronaut Wrangler. He talked about some of the shuttles of the month of September, including STS-26, the return to flight. Was his first week on the job out there at the Space Center. Or first month, I guess, on there. And yesterday we had a great conversation with Mikey Haddad, who talked about the Shuttle Radar Lab. That was an incredible 2 flights done 6 months apart to study the Earth's terrain in a radar way. And they actually discovered rivers and civilizations they didn't know were buried underneath the Sahara Desert and other places. So this is what we do on Stay Curious. We have guests very frequently. And then days like today, we have a little mashup of space history, present and past. And we've got a beautiful piece of space history today, as reported from a story I'm reading from CBS's Bill Harwood. William Harwood is the dean of all the space writers in today's age, and this is a photograph from NASA's Bill Ingalls. Frank Rubio and 2 Russians undocked from the International Space Station and landed in Kazakhstan at 7:17 a.m. local time. Not sure what that would have been in Houston or here, middle of the night for sure. But the unofficial mission duration, as you see the gentleman here, is 370 days in 21 hours. So basically 371 days they were off the surface of the Earth. Rubio said earlier that he's a father of 4, and he's looking forward to hugging my wife and kids. Probably focus on that for the next couple of days. And he says he's got a nice quiet backyard. Let's see, Rubio's probably on the far left there. And then you got the 2 Russians, Sergei Prokhorov and Dmitry Petelin. All right, and Sergei and Dmitry, they had racked up time and space on previous missions. So this long duration flight, even though they have to do 2 hours a day of exercising, okay? And the only person I've ever met who does that is my co-producer Marty Winkle here. I know he's a great fitness buff. But even though they work out 2 hours a day, Marty, they're having a hard time walking. It'll take them months to get back to their vestibular balancing system in their ears. Your muscles and bones take time to get back to their strength. 2 to 6 months they're expecting before they feel normal. And there's other restrictions. They can't drive a vehicle and some things like that for a certain amount of time. And I'm sure they don't want to because they're wanting to be as healthy as they can back on Earth. One thing Rubio mentioned was he's going to be glad to get away from the constant hum of machinery. That's something you don't think about. There's all kinds of fans and motors and valves and pumps opening and closing on the International Space Station, on the shuttle. It was true there. Any spacecraft is going to be a noisy vehicle. So he's just looking forward to some peace and quiet. So that's awesome. What an accomplishment. And we have now got our longest space traveler, Frank Rubio, 370 continuous days in space. Wish him well, greeting his family. Well, I racked up a few pictures here from last year's show, Marty, and wanted to emphasize that it's a great movie, A Million Miles Away, about astronaut Jose Hernandez going from a migrant worker family where he's an 8-year-old boy picking tomatoes in a field in California to becoming an astronaut some 30 years later. Marty, we met Jose out there a year ago at the Space Center. Has flown by. There's the scene out there where Nick Thomas is introducing him there. There's Nick and Jose. Boy, that year flew by fast, Marty, didn't it? I'm like, seemed like we were just talking to him 2 months ago about all this and his winery that he has, and he wants to do some of that with us there. So we love the movie. It's quite a little emotional type of Hallmark type of movie about the family and his wife and his kids and his determination to be turned down 11 times to be an astronaut. In his 12th time, there he is. His flight was STS 128 at the end of the shuttle era, so he didn't fly another mission. But forever an astronaut there with our good buddy Nick Thomas. Got any comments about the movie or Jose, Marty? I know we're both high on the movie and him.
Yeah, I thought the movie was excellent. Like you said, it's a Hallmark type of movie, but it was still very, very good. And Jose is just a great guy.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite astronaut encounters.
Yeah. His book's great. We remember all kinds of passages out of his book. Of course, this show's been bastardized a little bit by Hollywood. His story, his father really talked to him in the kitchen in a dramatic scene. And they had that out in the migrant fields, so, but we can't quabble. My big quabble was the actor Pena that's in it doesn't have a mustache. All right, there we go. Michael Pena there. And Jose's always had a mustache. Come on. Marty, a comment or question?
Yeah, we have a question from Tom Thumb. When the astronauts spend such a long duration of time in orbit, are they allowed a good amount of vacation time off after such a flight?
Are they allowed vacation time after their flight?
Yeah. No.
No?
No. As far as I know, they have a lot of, what do you call it, deorientation, if you will. Just a lot of tests that they run on the astronauts. And I can't think of the term where, they just collecting data from the astronauts.
It's like a what? Sabbatical.
No. It's all in Houston. They're doing a lot of testing on the astronauts.
Right.
They don't go on vacation right away.
No. Okay. Yeah. They don't. They have to be. They're going to be at Houston for a while, particularly Rubio. Well, the other two have gone back to Star City outside of Moscow. But yes, there's procedures of depending, I'm sure, how long you've been in space to things that you can do and can't do. No, I would say it'll be a couple months before he goes with his family to Hawaii or wherever he wants to go on there. Maybe Disneyland out here in Orlando. But good question there. We'll effort that. I'll ask a couple astronauts, Marty. We got a new question to ask our astronauts out there when they come back from a mission. How long are they poked and prodded and debriefed? Of course, there's a lot of debriefing on the science they were doing up there.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Debrief, okay. You're looking for the word debrief, yes. There's a lot of debriefing of what they did, and there's a lot of private conversations with the astronauts when they're on the up in space with medical people, maybe psychiatrists. Who knows who they talk to, and then maybe they have to follow up on some of that. Maybe somebody had something simple like hemorrhoids or something up there, and they gotta talk about it and get checked out, right, Marty? It's possible. I could have used something else, couldn't I? Right. But anyway, good question there. We're glad that everybody's loving our show on Stay Curious here. But this is really a good movie. I look forward to seeing it again. It's on Amazon Prime. It'll probably be in theaters near you someday, okay? Just a couple pictures out there at the Space Center. We've had some bad weather lately, we always love going out there and appreciating what Delaware North's done out at Kennedy Visitors Complex. There's a shot of Rick Houck there that we're going to talk about. He certainly earned his Hall of Fame wings on STS 26 as his commander there. And we hope that you get a chance to see the beautiful astronaut Hall of Fame there. I think it's 109 now astronauts that are in the Hall of Fame. And of course the big golf ball on the tee out there outside the visitors complex's souvenir show there. That's the actual size of the Orion spacecraft they have twirling around there, and the IMAX and kids PlayStations back there. So, well, we got a couple birthdays today, Marty, as we enjoyed taking everyone out to Kennedy Space Center. We got the missed it yesterday because we had a guest on, Mikey Haddad. So we want a belated birthday to Stephanie Wilson, was 57 on Wednesday. Born Stephanie Diana Wilson, born in 1966 in Boston, Massachusetts, and grew up in Pittsfield. She is one of 9 Artemis women selected for the possible moon missions. I'll show you the other ones there in just a minute. Here's her picture in her pumpkin suit. 3 times this lady's been to space. She's, of course, the second African-American woman to go into space after Mae Jemison. Her 42 days in space, however, the most of any female American astronaut, except for that's been usurped now. And off the top of my head, I can't think who it is, but she's a Marine. Wilson graduated from high school, Tacona High School in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. She's a Harvard graduate in 1988, master's degree in science of aerospace engineering at University of Texas. That's where Mike Baker has got his degree. And she's on the Harvard Board of Overseers. Stephanie is married. Here, I think I got another picture of her there. No, I don't. Thought I had a picture of her in space. There are the Artemis women. Stephanie's married to Julius McCurdy. She enjoys skiing and stamp collecting. I saw the stamp collecting on a couple of things there. Good for you, Stephanie. We hope you enjoyed your day yesterday. Your 57th trip around the sun completed and working on going back to the moon. I'm not sure if she'd be a good moonwalker or a commander of an Orion spacecraft. She's a mission specialist, payload specialist. All right, on there. And there's our other Artemis women. All have flown in space now. All right, we've got Jasmine Magoli up there in space up there. And we've got 4 missions for Stephanie.
You said 3.
Oh, I said 3. Okay. All right. The missions I had for her. Where did I put my notes there? STS 121 in 2006, 120 in 2007, and 131 in 2010. And so I'm missing a mission there.
Oh, no, I'm missing. I'm sorry, it's my bad.
Okay. So she flew right at the end of the shuttle era there. I don't believe she's been on any of the But that's all right there. But Jasmine Magoli's up there in space right now, and all these women have been in space. And I was thinking of Jessica Watkins there. She is African American, and she spent a 6-month tour up on the International Space Station. So, but happy birthday to Stephanie Wilson there. Oh yeah, I do have a picture of her in space. There we go. There she is, looking out the windows of the shuttle. Marty, do you know how many windows there were on the space shuttle?
1, 2, 3.
He's going to count them there. I mean, good, because I've been reading the book Orbits by Jay Apt. Oh my God, and the pictures are gorgeous. But how many you gonna say? There's 2 of them there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
11. 11. There's one on the payload door, on the door, right? On the hatch. And but there's 11. Good guess, Marty. That's a good guess. All right. Well, we got another birthday we're going to celebrate tomorrow, and that's old Clarence William Bill Jr. here. Bill Nelson. Clarence William Bill Nelson Jr. was born in Miami. Okay, Miami. September 29th, 1942. He grew up in Melbourne. It's just 30 miles down the road here. Of course, he is the 14th NASA administrator for the Biden administration. He was a U.S. Democratic senator from Florida from 2001 to 2019. And he was a U.S. House rep in 79 to 91. So pretty much a career politician there. There's his handprints. Me putting my hand on his. He was at an event when Charlie Mars, our godfather of this museum, harvested those handprints of some 30 or more astronauts over about a 5-year period. Nelson went to space. Of course, that's why we got him in the blues there on STS 61C in January 86, the flight before the fatal Challenger one. He became the 2nd sitting member of Congress to fly in space after Utah's Jake Garn as a payload specialist. He considers himself a space passenger, and I appreciate that from Mr. Nelson. Doesn't consider himself really a true astronaut. He says, I was a space passenger. In his 1988 book, he talked about that, called Mission, an American Congressman's Voyage to Space. And just weeks before the shuttle disaster, when they put a teacher up in space, Krista McAuliffe, and we're thinking about people like CBS news correspondent, several of them there. Who was the anchor there? He wanted to go, not Roger Mudd, but and I'm thinking of John Denver, the singer, wanted to go to space. Okay, and so all kind. They wanted to send Pablo Casals up there, baby, poets, writers. Everyone's going to go to space and talk about it. So these senators wanted to go up there first, of course, and pull their golden ticket, and then the true first civilian was going to be Krista McAuliffe. So I am thinking of CBS News. Boy, it's hectic to lose your thoughts at this stage. So let's wish Mr. Nelson. Who?
Walter Cronkite?
No, I'm thinking after Walter. Who was after Walter Cronkite? He's been doing great interviews with rock stars on Access TV. He was anyway. Someone will tell me there. Someone will pop up there, Marty, and tell us.
Fox McCloud said Walter Cronkite.
After Walter Cronkite, yeah.
I said Fox McCloud said Walter Cronkite.
Oh, okay. No, it's Dan Rather. Say Dan Rather. If you wait long enough, everyone that's in their 40s and 50s, before you hit your 60s, it'll start swirling around there and coming out. All right, when you finally get it out there, Dan Rather. All right, and Dan's probably in his 80s, so we'll enjoy that. Bill Nelson's birthday on the 29th, Friday. So he is 81 years old, Marty. Well, let's look at the shuttles of the month of September there real quick, as we're here at the last two. Launched STS 29, or on the 29th tomorrow. We have STS 26. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. And then STS 68 is the Space Radar Lab. with Mike Baker, our new friend there, was the commander of that. Terry Wilcutt, who's really a nice guy, was the pilot out there. We love both of those astronauts, and they're frequently out to Space Center. And we need to get Terry out to dinner, Marty, next time, and get him behind our Stay Curious camera here. So we'll effort that. My little chart there of what's going on in the whole month. You got the bottom is the days of the month. So we've only got 86 and 26 launched today, and then 68 on the 30th left in the month to orbit. But as you can see there, with 11 shuttles, 8 of them orbited the Earth at one time there on the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th time frame there. Very unusual to see that in our space history here. So, well, here's something I want you to see and pay attention to too. Well, is the patch for the return to flight. Of course, we all know January 26, 1986, one of the dark days for NASA when we lost 7 astronauts on the launch explosion, 70 seconds into launch of orbiter 099 Challenger. And so it took 2.5 years to get back to space. And would you believe 3 members of this crew were on Space Shuttle Challenger on successful flights, of course, before the 25th mission of the program was lost. This patch, the art behind it is the predominant themes expressed by the STS-26 crew patch are a new beginning with the sunrise, a safe mission with the stylized launch and plume, and the building upon the traditional strengths of NASA, the red vector from the NASA meatball, in a remembrance of the 7 colleagues who died on Challenger, the 7-starred Big Dipper there on the left. The patch was designed by artist Stephen Hutzvalt of Annapolis, Maryland there. So gorgeous symbolism there. Really, really means a lot when you get into the depths of this. So simple and yet so meaningful behind this. And here, folks, is what heroes look like. 35 years ago tomorrow, these heroes walked out to get on a spaceship that the one before it blew up, and they lost their dear friends on this. And in fact, it's just incredible, the stories of these gentlemen here. This photograph from our friends, Tom and Mark Yusak of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, remind us of our space heroes. I talked to Tommy here just a few minutes ago. You know, I didn't print that out. Doggone it. Or did I? No, I didn't, Marty. And over there on the desk is another note I'm going to need. I'm sorry. There. Tom told me that you look down on the green carpet there and it says Discovery on it there. Go Discovery, in fact, on there. Leading them is Rick Houck. Rick was on the third and last flight. This was his third and last flight, and he was the pilot of the second Challenger flight, STS-7, and commander of 51A in 1984. Dick Covey there on the left was the Capcom operator. He's got that oorah going there, Marty. He was on the Capcom communicator, and he's the person who uttered the words we'll never forget, Challenger, go at throttle up, just a second before the orbiter blew up. And then Pinky Nelson there, he's the last one there, the tow-headed gentleman there that Bob Seek, when he launched him, said he always reminded him should have a surfboard under his arm out there. He's always a youthful-looking, surfer-looking dude. Nelson was on the third. He was the third crew member to have flown on Challenger, STS-41C in 1984, when he did that man-maneuvering spacewalk with the untethered man-maneuvering unit and rescued the Solar Max space satellite. So wonderful to see that there, Marty. Talked to Tom Yusak about this and some of his comments. I'll give you here just a minute on this rollout. This was Tom and his brother Mark and their friend Bob Preston, who helped their photography business. They're about their 15th shuttle launch that Tom and his brother Mark had done together, photographing this beautiful rollout during the weeks that they were on the Space Coast in 1988. And then here's Mr. Hugh Harris, who passed away last February. We miss him dearly. You can see about a dozen of his Stay Curious programs on YouTube. Forget the reporter he's talking to there, Marty. But Tom Yusak said that what happened, Marty, was they split up the traditional press corps at the press site west of the VAB, and they wanted to not have everybody there 3.5 miles away for safety concerns. So some of the reporters and photographers were sent to the causeway, which is 7 miles from the launch pad. And Tom said this created a lot of disconcerted feelings among the news press out there, which you can understand if you're a Time magazine photographer and you're told to go, you photograph 25 of these launches from the press site and you're told to go not 3.5 miles away, but twice as far away. You're going to kick a little bit about that. Well, Tom and his brother, Mark, were at the press site there. Marty, you got a comment there?
Yeah, we had a couple of good comments from Fox McCloud. He said after the launch, first one was, I saw that the number one hit for STS 26 was Don't Worry, Be Happy by Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then he also says, after launch, 7 flowers appeared out of nowhere in mission control. Milt Heflin tracked down who sent the flowers to send them a thanks.
Oh, so, that's touching there for sure. I'm going to double check who I think, that was Bob Seek's first launch, okay? Gene Thomas had done the 5 previous launches. Poor Gene, the flight director for that F-51L. I'd love to know what his feelings were about that. I never heard him. Yeah, Bob Seek, that was his first of 57 shuttle launches on there. And a great friend of our museum. I'm going to ask, remind me sometime to ask Bob about that, who brought the flowers in there. Some of the other controversial things going on, Tom was telling me about was of course, the accessibility of VIPs. The VIPs there, he said, included Buzz Aldrin. And, of course, a lot of the astronauts wanted to be there, but they didn't have the warm, fuzzy receptions and stuff like that with it there. Let's see, I was trying to think what else Tom was telling me about. But he said he felt sorry for Hugh Harris, who had one of his big decisions to make as at that time of who to let be at the traditional press site, which is just 3.5 miles away, right beside the VAB, or on the causeway, which was further away, and a drive and all that sort of stuff. So, didn't print my notes out there. Tommy, remind me of something I'm forgetting to say here, unless you're playing with your grandkids there. But a couple things about the flight and the mission. Oh, yes, there's Norm Carlson. This is when the famous Beans Are Go was done. To get STS-1 off, a couple of the scrubs on there, Carlson brought a pot of Navy beans, all right, and that became a big luck charm. Good luck charm, as people notice that. Then, Marty, there were so many Navy beans and pinto beans cooked that they kind of had to send out a memo on it, right, Marty? It smelled pretty ripe in that LCC. All right. Anyway, in 1988, yep, dot matrix printer there. Okay, that was quite an achievement to do, by the way. Okay, print that out on your little dot matrix printer there on continuous sheets of paper there. So Norm Carlson, we think about you every day as we have your Snoopy in the in our workers gallery here. So rest in peace. There is a beautiful shot of the launch. Tom said that everybody sort of held their breath for 70 seconds there. And then, of course, the big moment was when the SRBs, which created a leak or a fire sprout out of the sections, which doomed the Challenger. When those separated, everybody felt good about that too. But it was a beautiful day, 11:37 a.m. on September 29th, 35 years ago tomorrow. All right. The mission was technically designated 26R, R standing for recycled. All right. The original designation belonged to 51F, also known as Space Lab 2. Well, all these flights were given this numerical and number system that was supposed to be good for tracking the fiscal year when these were launched. Hence, the 51 is fiscal year 1985. The 1 stands for launched at Kennedy. 2 was going to be launched at Vandenberg on the West Coast, which never, of course, happened. And then the letters would be basically A, B, C, D, E, the schedule flow. So this is the first one that restored the numbering system. They abandoned it at STS 9 and then went to 41A, I believe. Also on this, so I asked Tom about the crowd there, and he said it was amazing. There's Tom Yusak there. And Carlton Bailey. Carlton, you didn't answer your phone. Tommy and Mark said that they met you for the first time at this launch, and they didn't run. They became your friends. Okay, so and I'm your friend too, Carlton. So sorry you didn't pick up. I'll get some comments from you, and we'll talk about STS 26 next week as it's orbiting the Earth for 4 days on a successful, very successful mission. But there's Tom and Mark and Carlton Bailey's up on the top of the VAB on a chilly landing, he thought it was on there. And I forget what day, it was about a month ago that we had him on Stay Curious there. Tom said that the crowd was as large as STS-1. It was not, he actually thought there was more people for the John Glenn liftoff, STS-95, but it was a huge crowd. And then the next mission, STS-26, was a Department of Defense, 27 was a Department of Defense mission, so they're not going to talk about that. STS-27, which was a near fatal one, it got hit so hard and tiles damaged with Hoot Gibson, Guy Gardner, Shepard, Mullane, and Ross on that one. STS-29, when they launched in March of 1989 with Coates and Blaha as commander and pilot, Buckley, Springer, and Baggian on that, it was business as usual. But the crowds were back to anyone could have got a press pass to that, he said. So quite a seminal moment in time for America's space program. There's a lot of questions if this mission had failed or had anomalies. Would the entire shuttle program been abandoned at that time? Certainly, if we lost 7 more astronauts, it probably would have doomed the program. Never really talked to you about that, Marty, what the feeling was about people, except NASA people don't look back. It was an exhilaration that everything worked. 2.5 years later, they had a safer spacecraft. They still had the problem till the end of 135, so over 109 more missions later, they were still had that pieces of the foam on the ET, the orange tank there falling off and hitting the belly on there, so they just kind of learned to live with it. So, Marty, do you have any comments about what you were doing and how exciting as a Space Launch Systems Manager?
Well, I was out there watching the launch like everybody else was. It's just like with anybody else. With other space workers or, I'll say civilians, we all felt the same thing. Just anxiety, hoping everything goes well.
Well, and it didn't, and that is every launch, whether it's those little sticks that SpaceX is launching out there, the 212 pound or foot tall Falcon 9. Some of the photographers I talked to, they hate the missile launch because it might be the one that blows up. And, so I think Carlton Bailey knows what I'm talking about there. We appreciate everybody watching in today, including Cynthia Rossi, Doug Forrest, Tammy Miller, Robert Law. We got space nerds watching. That could be my friend Spencer Ratcliffe. Is that you, Spence? Space Nerd also talks on the John Boy and Billy show up out of rock and roll morning national DJs out of Charlotte up there. So Space Monkeys watching, Dave Stange, the Astronaut Files, Gary Gerald. Hope you had a good day today up there in Georgia, Gary. Neil 1030's watching, Bill Whiting. Heard that Bill's a little under the weather, Marty. Did you hear that? So I hope you get well. Yeah?
Yeah, heard that, yeah. But hopefully make a quick recovery.
Make quick recovery there, Bill. Tom Thumb's watching, as well as Tom Yusak. Fox McLeod, thank you, Fox, for your comments there and watching us. And Tom Celentano, getting ready for our auction October 7th. I forgot to put the slide in on that. But so October 7th, Saturday, is our auction. We'll be hawking that all next week, of course. So we want to go out with some thoughts about we had 3 cosmonauts come back from space. Okay, how many are up there right now, Marty? Yeah, you got a question? You got an idea who's up there?
No, as far as the names, no.
Well, not names, but how many astronauts are up? Floating around?
14.
14. Nope. We had 3 come back.
That would make 11 then.
That will make 11, won't it? Exactly. And we have 3 on the Tiangong space. There's the Chinese space station, and then the International Space Station. Chinese space station is about like the Mir space station was. Maybe one more cylinder on it. But we have up there right now these astronauts. Marty, would you hand me that sheet on my desk, sir? I had to add something to it. I've got the astronauts' names on there and how long they've been up there. The one, yeah, that one with my handwriting on it. Thank you, sir. Right there, we've got, this is at the top, we've got Oleg Kononenko, Nikolai Chubb, and the lady is Laurel O'Hara. And they went up on Soyuz 24 13 days ago. So they're spending their 14th day in space 2 weeks ago. They were launched. That's the 3 up at the top. They are going to be up there for about 6 months. Then the Chinese on their own space station at the bottom there. We got Yang Haiping. And this is, they've been up there continuously on this expedition of theirs for 121 days. So about 4 months for this group of 3. Haiping there on the left, this is his 4th flight, 159 days in space. In the middle is Gu Hachou and Zhao Yangzhou have been up there for, like I said, 3 months, 121 days each, or 4 months, yeah. And they're going to be up there another 2 months. So that's 6 that's up there, and then we've got these 4 up there. So 6 and 4 is 10, Marty. All right, we had 13 up there is what we did have. So 6 and 4 is 10. And these astronauts are officially SpaceX Crew 7. And that is, they've been up there now for 33 days, just a little over a month. Jasmine Mogeli, the commander up there at the left, she's a rookie. Andreas Morgensen, he had 10 days in space previously on a Soyuz quick trip to the space station. Satoshi Furukawa is an experienced flyer and been to the space station. This is his 200th day in space. And Konstantin Borisov there on the right, the Russian, he is like Jasmine, enjoying their 33rd day in space. So this crew up there of 10, 7 on the space station, and 3 on the Tiangong Chinese space station. On our space station, this starts Expedition 70. 70 individual crews, Marty, have trained to live on the space station in the last 22 years. We'll be celebrating the 23rd year in November. And we started out with 2 people, and then they started with 3, and now regularly we can have 6 people working full-time up there on the space station. So quite progress we made over the 61 years of space travel. 666 humans, by our count, have orbited the Earth, 75 of them women. Well, tomorrow, don't forget, we're going to be talking to this guy, Gary. Let's hit it back there. Gary Studi, you're going to learn so much about plants. Hydroponics is how they do it. Gary says it took them 20 years for them to eat a leaf of lettuce up there in the space station, but they're starting to eat some of the stuff they're growing, and it is so important to grow food on our spaceships. And Gary's going to tell you all about it. Gary Studi, just stay curious with us tomorrow. So, Marty, thank you for a good job today, and thank you for a great week. And until then, thank you for, well, let me thank Karan Conklin, our executive director, and our whole staff here as we're working hard to do things to enhance all elements of our American Space Museum experience, whether online, on Facebook, or in the museum personally. So until tomorrow, when Marty and I kick off our 900th episode. Yeah, 900 episodes. We're doing that tomorrow, all to stay curious. I hope you join me, Marquette, to bridge the space between us.